This is Taylor Stewart of the Oregon Remembrance Project, working with the community of Grants Pass on the Sunrise Project. I'm here today with Connie from Cave Junction, and we're going to talk a little bit about her experience in the community and what we can do to create these visions of a sunrise community. So, Connie, thank you for joining me.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for asking.
How long have you lived in the Cave Junction, Grants Pass area?
13 years. Yes, we migrated from Los Angeles, California. My husband retired. He came up here, found a piece of property, and we built a little place we call home.
Wonderful. And coming from somewhere, a big city like Los Angeles with a sort of larger multiracial society, what has your experience in the Grants Pass Cave Junction area been like?
It hasn't been as pleasant as some people would like other people to believe. Your experiences are so dynamic and traumatic too. I've had so many experiences, like from applying for jobs, grocery shopping, clothes shopping, just being in the area, walking around to see what is what. You have people who are still grabbing their purses like I'm going to take it, or they follow me through the store. My first recollection of being in Grants Pass, because we had just moved into the house and we had to get groceries. We needed everything. And the lady that was checking my groceries, she was throwing them. And the person their courtesy clerk, actually put my eggs on the bottom and put the potatoes on top of my eggs. And I asked her what was she doing, and she looked at me and just walked away. And the lady snatched my money from me. And this was at Albertsons right there in Grants Pass. And being new, you don't know. When you come from a metropolitan area, you can speak up and not feel like there's going to be any repercussions. But since I had heard about the Aryan Nation and Ku Klux Klan and people of color that weren't welcome here, you don't want to say anything because it's traumatic already. You don't need to keep re-traumatizing yourself on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. In conjunction with some of these traumatic experiences, what has helped you move on? Not necessarily move on, but to find peace in this community that you continue to call home?
I feel at peace in this community. I still feel traumatized from time to time, not always. Mm-hmm. The biggest things that I have to remember is that everybody is entitled to their own thoughts and feelings, and just as I am. And I respect people who respect me, and if you don't respect me, I don't respect you. What gets me through most of it is knowing that I have a great family support system. I have friends that are very supportive.
Mm-hmm. So, as you've mentioned, Grants Pass is largely, predominantly white, with few people of color.
Yes.
Did you know that Grants Pass was, in the surrounding area, was once what was considered a sundown town?
Yes, I had heard that. Before I moved up here, I did a little research and I saw where it was a sundown town, and I do know what a sundown town is. I was born in the 50s, so I'm real familiar with that. But as you get older and you evolve into yourself, you feel like it was a sundown town. So maybe it's not anymore, but things have not changed, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. The sundown town thing, it's still going strong. It's just not as overt as it used to be. Mm-hmm. My husband and I sometimes will have dinner and we leave here at 7:30 and the streets are closed up, and it's like, whoa, there's nobody here. And unfortunately, you have an urgency to get out of there, keep moving, get home as quickly and safely as you can. Mm-hmm. So you won't be followed or harassed, because we still have in this area, in Josephine County and Jackson County, we still have the Driving While Black, the DWB. We have it. It's strong. I've been a person who was touched by it. So not much has changed, but you just have to learn to be comfortable, be aware of your surroundings, and lean on your support system.
Oral history posits that there were signs in the Grants Pass area that signaled its status as a sundown town. Are you familiar with any of these potential signs?
I am looking for that sign. I have been over to the recorder's office to ask about it, and they looked at me like I had just landed from another planet, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah, it's sundown towns are an interesting American phenomenon in that they were so widely spread, but we have so little documentation.
Yes.
Very frequently, there was a sign within the city limits that said, "Nigger, don't let the sun come down on you here." And interestingly enough, there actually is no picture of one of these signs in American circulation. And so I'm hoping that we can find one of those signs here in the Grants Pass area.
Yes, and in California they had it too. So it's not like it's something new, different, or unusual. It's common. And if we really trace our history, sundown towns have always been around for people of color, i.e. Black people.
The Ku Klux Klan had a large presence in southern Oregon in the Grants Pass area. Can you recall any instances, or have you heard of stories of Klan activity in the area?
No, I haven't. I didn't ever hear that.
Have you heard about any other white supremacist groups in town?
I've heard in Medford of an Aryan, they call them Aryan Nation. They were harassing some people of color. I think it was in White City. They surrounded a Hispanic couple in the store and was harassing them. And that's the only thing I heard, and that was maybe 10 years ago.
In 1995, the Aryan Nation attempted to do a recruitment drive in Grants Pass, but the community at large came out in protest and pushed the Aryan Nation out from the Grants Pass area. Why do you think the Aryan Nation chose Grants Pass, Josephine County, as a potential location for recruitment?
I still think that they felt that they were entitled to do that because they had heard that this was a place that used to be a sundown town, and they were probably eager to make it a sundown town again and keep people of color out. I don't know why. I can't get in their head, but I'm feeling that that was their reasoning to keep it white.
So, as we've talked about Grants Pass and the surrounding area's history as a sundown town, what do you think the community at large ought to do with the knowledge of this history?
First, they need to recognize and stop hiding. It happened. It could happen again. Why don't we just try to embrace what our history is, try to reconcile it, train and teach people who are in power to make changes. I've always said, be careful who you vote for. Voting is very, very important in this day and age. Well, it's always been important, but people are getting away from that, and they're going with what they heard, but not what they know. We need to get more people focused on changing things and realizing that these things happen, and we don't. If you choose not to let them happen again, you are going to have to reconcile and make changes.
As we do this historical remembrance on the history of sundown towns, what do you hope the community learns from this reckoning?
I would hope that the community learns that the truth, as painful as it is, you will get through it.
What do you think / hope is on the other end of that truth telling?
More knowledge, and more knowledge means more power to embrace other people, to get their opinions, to see where they are coming from, and how can we move forward. That is very important. Like I was telling somebody else, I am over 65 and I'm not going to be here another 35 years to see how this plays out. I would like to see it happen sooner than later.
Yes, me too. So one of the things that we're trying to do in reckoning with this history is create this vision of a sunrise community, essentially the opposite to a sundown town. What do you think the opposite to a sundown town might look like?
I think that it would start at the top with our commissioners, with our police force, with our doctors, with our nursing staff, with people that you come in contact with on a daily basis, to change the narrative, to switch, not just have, as we would say, the good old boys in charge. Be welcoming. Let other cultures come in. We all have something to say. If we want it to change, it's gonna take everybody. So your opinion matters, my opinion matters, the commissioner, their opinion matters, the mayor, the governor, the doctor, the chief of staff, they all matter. We need to get together. We need to sit at the table and talk it out. Whether you agree or disagree, everybody has their own version of what they see, what they feel, and we should move from there.
As we try and bring this idea of reconciliation to the community, I believe that there are 3 R words within this idea of reconciliation: remembrance, repair, and redemption. And in order for us to get to that last R word of redemption, we need to have the courage it takes to undertake the first 2. Our hope is that we can have individuals learn from the ways that we're collectively trying to bring about this work, as well as the collective learn from the ways that people are trying to do this work on an individual basis. How do you think the everyday community member can model this type of reconciliation, historical repair, in a way that might get the community at large to learn from it?
Well, first, Taylor, you have to recognize there's a problem. You can't fix anything until you recognize and acknowledge there's a problem. If they don't do that, the other 3 don't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I like to say that remembrance makes redemption possible. Mm-hmm. However, remembrance alone is not enough to get to redemption. We need repair.
And we need to recognize.
Once we have started this recognizing, this acknowledgement, what do you think it looks like to repair this on a communal or an individual basis?
Communication, openness, and respect.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that we're trying to do in embodying this idea of a sunrise community is creating a community in which everyone can feel safe, respected, and like they can call this space their home. What do you think needs to happen for people of color at large to be able to feel that way in the Grants Pass, Josephine County community?
I could only speak for me, and it's very uncomfortable to go to a doctor's office where you don't see any people that look like you. Mm-hmm. I think that we need to be more welcoming. I've heard that they can't find people of color to work here, and I've often said, well, if you cast your net out a little bit further, you may be able to find people of color who are willing to come here. It's a beautiful place. There's a lot of beauty here. If we could just take the time and don't say what you can't do, because anything is possible. Just let them know that they are welcome here. Make them feel welcome. Make them feel appreciated. And make them feel respected. We have to start getting more people of color. They're here. They're hidden. They don't want to come out because they've heard the rumors. They've seen who the people are that are guiding their laws and everything, and they're not comfortable. But who do you go to? Somebody that doesn't look like you? They feel like it's going on deaf ears. We need to have more participation from people of color.
How do you think that the small but mighty people of color in the Josephine County community, how do you think that they might be able to come together to create a sort of collective voice, a collective power?
That's a hard question to answer. I would have to defer. I would have to think about that because for me, I need to know that I can go to the library and see books by authors that look like me. I need to go to the hospital and know that there's a doctor or a staff person that looks like me. So it's kind of, for me, I just can't say what they need to do. I just know what would work for me to make me feel more welcome.
And so I think we'll sort of dive into some of those three things of what would make you feel safer in the community.
To know that there's a person who looks like me, who would understand me, who would advocate for me. If I have an issue with a law that's being passed or a police officer or a nurse, I would like to have an advocate that looks like me, who can understand, who may be able to empathize and articulate what is really going on in the community.
Mm-hmm. So, as we, in the intermediate, as we're waiting for those people that look like us to be in these positions of power, what might you hope your white neighbors can do to the best of their ability, fill in that sort of advocate role?
I think they should get more knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge out there. There's PBS, there's books. Just be open to listening and understanding, ask questions if they're not clear, because they will get honest answers from people of color. Mm-hmm. If they ask, what do you need us to do? A person of color will say, I need you to do this, and this is how I think we should do it.
Mm-hmm. What do you think it would take for people of color to feel more respected in the Josephine County area?
Like I said, to see more people that look like them.
Mm-hmm.
Even in the retail stores, even at the gas station. It's little things. You go to a restaurant, it would be nice to have a waitress that looked like me to say, may I help you? Or a hostess, or know that maybe this is a Black-owned restaurant that I'm eating at.
Mm-hmm.
It's just little things, very small. It's not going to take a lot. It's just very small. But people, the powers that be, have to be open that if a person of color wants a chance, they have to give it to them. Mm-hmm. If they fail, they fail. But they should be able to get the same resources that the non-melanin people get. Mm-hmm. And I don't like to say white. I say non-melanin.
One of the things that I've heard you mention a lot is this idea of representation. How do you think that the Josephine County community could signal to people of color that this is a place that they should come settle in?
I have to ask you a question. Where would those honest people be? Would they just be doing it because that's what their job requires? Or is it something that they have a passion to do? Because if you're not passionate in doing it, it's moot. You don't even need to bother. We need more passionate people to come and say, you know what, Connie, we would like for you to sit on the commissioners. We would like to find out, do you know anybody who would like to be a sheriff here? Do you know of anybody who would like to be a doctor here? We are going to offer this, 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 and this. That's how I feel. I think they should ask, be comfortable enough or vulnerable enough to ask a person of color what would they like. Not just me, not just you, but there's a lot of people who have many, many talents who would really, really like to be involved. But because it's a trust that they have to, non-melanin people need to develop trust in this area, that you can go to them and you can ask those questions and you will get some kind of response.
Mm-hmm. What do you believe community members and the community at large could do to give people of color like yourself, to give their voice more power? what might be able to give you the feeling that you have power in your community?
Listen. Just listen. Acknowledge what I'm saying. Real simple.
What do you wish that your white neighbors knew more about the people of color experience?
I wish I could just get a magic wand and every Juneteenth have an event in Grants Pass at the fairgrounds and have everybody come. I mean, people who can't get there, have a bus, bring them. Make sure that they have food, that they have learning tools, that they do the wheel of knowledge. Just educational but fun. But we need in this county to have something to have others come, even if they're curious. Sometimes you're curious just to know, what is that? What is this all about? And you can go and you can find out there's wonderful things. There's a lot of things that people of color have contributed to this country that non-melanin people don't even know about. It would be an opportunity, a learning opportunity. Just open up your heart, open up your mind, open up your spirit, and let those things flow so you can have more continuity in this community.
In the midst of this shadow of the history of sundown towns and racial exclusion, what has, as you mentioned, you've been here for 13 years and you still haven't left, what has helped you remain resilient?
Trust. I trust that things are going to get different, are going to be different. I trust that at one point we're not going to have to talk about this anymore. We're going to be able to say, oh yeah, we've dealt with that. We are moving on to this now. I think we need to educate people more, and it starts with your children. Children need to be educated. However you feel about critical race theory, I don't know. But maybe we should teach civics. But that's how I feel.
As you mentioned, if you had a magic wand, you would be bringing people together to engage in these education, these culture building. Additionally, if you had that magic wand, what would you want to change about the current experience you have in Josephine County?
I would want to be able to wear my shirts that support my Blackness as they get to wear their shirts that say with the Confederate flag on it, or let's go Brandon. It seems like to me, if I wear my shirt, I get the hisses and the boos. When they wear their shirts, they're expressing themselves. It is kind of skewed. If I wear my shirt, that's how I feel. You wear your shirt, that's how you feel. It's called being an American, freedom of speech. And I just want to be comfortable. And I am comfortable here. When I walk down the street, there is pride in being a person of color. I wear it proudly. It doesn't even, I'm not trying to be anything else. I'm like Popeye. I am who I am.
Have you felt any limits on expressing yourself, or particularly expressing your Blackness?
Yes. When I was going for jobs, that to me was very heartbreaking. I went to one interview, and this was an attorney. When you go for an interview on the phone, you say who you are, you talk, you send the resume, you do all that. They set up, they're excited to see you. They can't wait to meet you. Can you come right away? Yes, you get dressed, you drive from Cave Junction to Grants Pass, you walk in the door, all of a sudden it's silence. And when the receptionist leaves, to go in the back, and then everybody comes out to peek, you know you don't have that job. And that is so hurtful. It isn't the first time. I've had it happen so many times. I don't know if because I speak, quote unquote, well, or if I'm not the right hue, or I don't know what it is. But I have had that experience so much, and it is so hurtful and so deflating till you don't want to go out and get a job. And then on the same breath, they'll say, oh, yes, one of my best friends is black. And to that I say, so is mine. I mean, so what? These are things that have been happening for the past 13 years. How do we change that? Do you want to change it? Let's start there. Do you want to change it? Do you want to have a person of color in your office? Do you want to have a person of color as a judge? Do you want to have a person of color as a chief of police? Just be honest. Tell us what we want, and we can move from there.
What would you tell to a new person of color who moved to the Josephine County community?
I would tell them that this is a very wonderful place, that be true to themselves. And I had an Asian lady when I first moved here. I was at Walmart, and she said, you're new here. And it's like, oh my God, I guess I am. She said, just be careful. That's all she said, just be careful. And she touched me on my shoulder, and she said, just be careful. And I said, okay. And that's what I would pass on to everybody else. It's a wonderful place. Just be careful.
You've mentioned that you do enjoy, that there is a wonder to this place that you enjoy. What aspects of the parts of this community that give you joy, what about the community gives you that belief and hope that there could be a more just Josephine County?
Oh, when I go to the Glass Forge and I ask the silliest questions and they just smile and answer my question with a pure heart, or when I go over to the Laughing Clam, and I think that was the first restaurant my husband and I went to, and Katera was so sweet. It was refreshing. We sat there. How are you? You're new here. Welcome. You're going to enjoy it here. There's lots to do here. And these are the kind of people we need. We need Kateras to pump us up and say, yes, we can all do it. And I got your back. So, yes.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate you sharing your experiences. Are there any other topics you might like to dive into that we haven't covered?
No, not at this time.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Connie, for sharing your story and your experience here in the community. And my hope is that we can use what you've shared today to give your voice power, to make that changes, and to create. I believe that no matter where you go, you can find enough people who are willing to choose justice if given the opportunity.
Right.
It's just a matter of getting them to see where there's been injustice.
And respect.
I hope that by sharing your story, you can help inspire an intentionality from those in the community to make those welcoming steps, to include people of color, and I think most importantly to seek out your voice. And then the what's next is, let's listen and then respond.
Yes.
And so I thank you for sharing your experience.
Thank you.
And we are so happy to have your voice in this conversation.
Thank you. You take care.